My nail tech knows how to keep it a little secret. I don't wish for my success, I speak it. I caught a buzz and you did too, but you tweaking. I look like I've been getting money, how reeking. You smell me, that's LV. Walk around with my chest out and my skin smooth, I'm healthy. I'm in a mix and I'm handshaking, but most of y'all can't help me. Most of y'all ain't wealthy. Most of y'all just dress like it. I caught the vibe that y'all giving off and I'm trying to make myself less like it. This chick got a little Porsche body, I might let the bro test drive it. It's hard for me to get excited. I love music and stress about it. My city haunting, I'm co-signing this wave coming up next out it. Riding around in the shotgun and her Tesla. Hanging both of my legs out it like what's up? I got stakes and they too high now, I can't fuck up. I like girls that's down to earth, so don't be stuck up. I don't take L's, I give them out and I chuck them up.
Rick Ross, that's the thing about the boss. The metaverse, crypto, y'all getting so much money. Where you at? Where you at? Show us. And I don't mean, oh, I'm trying to put money. Man, I got a lot of money. I ain't need that fake money. But show us, show my homies what the metaverse about. One of y'all big boy crypto dudes, guru crypto picture takers, step up and say, this is what we gonna do, Rose. Where you at? Huh? Yeah, everybody giggling, looking around. All that fake rich money, where it's at?
Welcome in to NFT Live. We are going to have an absolute banger today. Thank you to some Rick Ross talking about some crypto bangers in the house. You guys don't even want to know what Gabe was doing behind the scenes there. I won't show it, but
I did that just for you, Q, because I thought it would be funny. Anyway, I put him away. I was here feeling the hip hop, and I thought I got to bust out some party favors.
Amazing stuff, guys. This is NFT Live. We are covering the NFT industry, of course. A lot to talk about over the weekend. I'm sitting here with Woboy, Gabe from Electro Labs, or Doc Gables, and Ronan the Collector, of course, my wonderful co-host. We're going to go in clockwise fashion here, guys. How are you doing today on this beautiful Tuesday? And thank you to everyone that is showing up early. We just pressed live.
I am.
Who are we starting with? Am I clockwise?
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. I think it was in relation to Q here, so I guess I'll hop on. Q, thanks for having me on today. Excited to talk to these folks. We've been chatting it up in the background a little bit. Look forward to just digging into what the here and now of the NFT space. We had a morning show this morning that's curtailed straight into this, so I look forward to just chatting it up a bit more. So GM everybody, and look forward to a great conversation.
You guys know me. I cut him wide, I cut him long, I cut him fat. 745 white on white. That's Rick Ross. You know me. GM everybody.
And I'm Ronan.
Hope you guys get the reference. I'm sorry.
You know what I was thinking, like, Q, we've got to get, like, we talked about this a long time ago, like a year and a half ago probably, but we have to bring that idea of like a secret cam back, where like while we're like cutting in, you have the ability to cut to anybody who's hanging out on cam without them knowing, because that would have been great for you to have pulled up Doc while he was like just getting down.
Dude, Gabe's absolutely bringing it today, Gabe. I gotta say, man, you're bringing the juice. I need that juice on a Tuesday. The market's feeling a little iffy, so I need the juice.
I got to get jacked, man. Now you've got a little dirt on me if you got the recording of that, Q. I'm just going to say that, okay? You can make some bizarre memes. We'll share that later. But, yeah, I was feeling the Rick Ross. I liked him calling us out with our fake internet money. Okay, look, man, I can't afford a 745. Why? Why? Because I got pictures of dogs and pigeons and cats and monkeys and monsters in my wallet, all right? But I don't have the beamer like Rick Ross, so what can I say?
My favorite response, Q, can you bring up the
voice
response? This was the best
It'll take
response
me a sec,
to Rick Ross's challenge. But outside of that, like, what's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining the show. We appreciate you hanging out with us this week. It is NFT Live. If you guys are enjoying the content, if you're enjoying hanging out with Woboy and Gabe and Nifty Q and Roden, hitting the like button does a whole lot for the channel. Sharing the channel, and then subscribing to the channel does a bunch. We've got shows every single day of the week, Monday through Sunday, Saturday, something like that. I always forget if we have a Sunday show or not. Yeah, so lots of NFT content every single day with amazing guests. And yeah, so make sure that you guys are tuned in so you know when it's happening. And that's the Bit Boy with his Lambo, which is, you know.
It's not a bad car
yeah.
there he's got. So yeah, the one response, Ronan, I don't know if you caught my response to this. So, you know, BitBoy had his. I also said, I hear Rick Ross is calling me out. This is peak life for me. And let's spit some bars, dude. And Gabe's ready to go. Guys, you aren't. This is probably the best intro we've ever had. Let's keep it running, man. I was on Woboy's Web3 spaces here today, and 2 points I want to bring up. One, or first of all, it's awesome. You guys are doing that daily. The Nifty Castle crew's doing it, and they're killing it with like NFT general news that can, you know, devolve into different rabbit holes and things like this. You got a good group and good community there. One, I was like in and out of stores while I was listening to it, so I was participating in it. But, you know, at one point I was told, because someone else was listening and messaged me later, I walked into a store, had to mute it or put it on low volume, and apparently Woboy was like asking me for my what actually happened there, Woboy?
Oh, it was so we were digging into a conversation of like if I believe it was Mo Runda. She's a wonderful artist in the NFT space, and a great member of our community, extremely supportive. But check out her work at Mo Runda. But she asked the question: is there any examples of what are some examples of the Web3 space disrupting the Web2 space, and which of those industries or like areas are close to disruption, if not? And for me, like the first thing that came to my mind was gaming, and how I don't necessarily think gaming is necessarily entirely like disrupted yet, but there's a ton of potential, and a lot of companies are considering it, and they're entering the space. But has it been disrupted? Like the audience isn't necessarily there yet, but in my head, I've watched so many LADZ City episodes, NFT Live episodes, and I know that a lot of guests are from the gaming space in Web3. And this man here, Q, has interviewed so many of them. So I really, really, really wanted his opinion on what he's seen as far as disruption goes. And I was just a response of just silence. He was just quiet. I was like, oh, okay, cool, thanks, Q. And he was getting taquitos at like 7-Eleven, I guess. I don't know what he was doing.
Taquitos, baby. Let's go.
Breakfast sandwich, maybe. Maybe some cold pizza. I don't know what your taste is, but he then later was able to get back to us. But it was a great morning show. I appreciate you being there, and now we can continue the conversation and just talk more Web3 stuff here and now.
Dude, I first of all, I apologize for not answering when you were obviously asking for support. But I want to throw this to Gabe and Ronan as well, because I thought it was an interesting question. Basically, you know, a community member was asking, like, what industries have been disrupted the most at this point and then in the future by NFTs? I really couldn't give her an answer at the time when she asked it, because it is a general question. You know, it's a tough one to kind of like hone into. Gaming is definitely one of them, but I definitely want your guys' take who weren't in the spaces either.
Ooh, that's tough, because I feel like we're pre-disruption. Like right now, everyone's attempting to disrupt Web 2 and a lot of big conventional enterprise brands. I think there's been some successes in gaming, at least in terms of digital goods. We may not be able to see it directly, but imagine users that were speculating on, say, CSGO skins or something like that, like high-priced, centralized goods markets, right? But didn't have any interest in the game. Well, NFTs are right up their alley, for example. And admittedly, I used to trade those as well. I actually have a small, I'm going to use air quotes here, investment in CSGO cases and skins that's, worth several $1,000s that I hardly look at. And I admittedly don't even play the game right now. I have in the past, but it's something that people were gambling with. And now we have these decentralized platforms outside of Steam where you can do the same thing with profile pics. I think music's ripe for disruption. But I don't think we're quite there yet. Yeah, and I think I don't know how disruptive all of it's even going to be. I think a lot of what's going to happen is just Web2 brands getting into the mix and actually embracing some of the tech. And maybe that's radical, maybe that's disruptive. If you're releasing products as a big legacy brand that can now be traded peer to peer on marketplaces like OpenSea or Coinbase NFT. But as everyone says, we're early, and also as everyone says, we never steal cars, but we deal hard. Whip it real hard. Whip it real hard.
I think I agree with everything that Gabe said. I think we are pre-disruption. I do think that if there's an industry that probably could be shaken up the most and like the soonest, it probably is music. I think that a lot of musicians are really starting to see the power in Web3 and what we what the community can provide in terms of support, right? That you don't necessarily need to go to a label for anymore. And I don't know why, like my brain just went blank, probably because I'm trying to think of rap freaking lyrics. But there was it was like a rapper, right? Like that just went independent and said that he's coming out with his first single as an NFT. And like, it's a huge rapper. I can't think of why his name is totally missed. It's like coming out of totally out of my head at the moment. But I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And I also think that just through conversations that I have, you guys know I deal with like a lot of like brands and stuff. Like I think like when it comes to music, the music, companies that I've spoken to definitely are the ones who are most fearful of NFTs and how they can disrupt the current state of things.
That's a great point. And also as a music artist myself, but also like I know the accessibility of creating music, like having a guitar or someone that you work with on production. Like nowadays, people are getting popular through TikTok, through just like sample sizes of their music, just like a loop, and then it'll project into Spotify, and it'll turn into greater distribution, and then they begin to like pop off like themselves, like they did that themselves. It doesn't necessarily require big backing behind it. It just required being somewhere first. And I think that the fact that people can make music, the creation of it it doesn't necessarily always require, like the technology is there for creators, and it's becoming more affordable for people to create music like day after day, and people are becoming more familiar with it. So now it's just a matter of time until there's a platform that is empowering people and also that is attractive enough to where it'll, I guess, accumulate enough of a portfolio of artists that it will be like, wow, this is a genuine opportunity here where people can up and coming artists can like make a living, not just like big artists that are popping off and popularized there, and people just want to support and get a flip off of like an NFT there because they know that they could get a track from a big artist. Like they could truly fund the career and the beginnings of a music artist. And I think that is personally the lowest barrier to entry as far as all the disruption that we mentioned before goes. Gabe mentioned it, Ronan mentioned it. I 100% agree. Music is like next on the list.
Shout out to Good Karma DAO doing some strong work in that arena. Check them out if you're interested in the music DAO space.
Yeah, I got the impression too that she was asking about, industries that were already kind of disrupted, which to Gabe's point, like there's not many, if any. And I'm not big into the fine art sector, but it does feel like that is one that got displaced really quickly. Like it's almost like a contraindicator to be placed in Sotheby's in Christie's now. Like if you're placed in Sotheby's and Christie's now, it's kind of lame. From the NFT side at least. Like I feel like maybe that is one that got displaced really quickly, but I don't know enough about the art sector to talk on that besides what I see.
Possibility. I think it's still going strong, and also there's lots of arguments for fine art as a speculative investment vehicle and as an industry as being both ways to launder money and or avoid high degrees of taxation. So I don't think that's going away anytime soon. And also the art industry is rife with fraud. Not to say I'm not a lover of fine art. Every time I go to a big city, I'm hitting the museums. But perhaps NFTs have in some way changed. Part of the auction model, specifically with Sotheby's or Christie's, I think remains to be seen.
Yeah. So I would, unless someone has got a last take, I want to hit the chat and a couple more things before we get to our big story of the day. Anybody got any last thoughts there? Or are we good? Good? Okay.
Good to go.
All right. I want to give a quick shout out to the chat, of course. Prodigy, Flubber, Easy and Crypto, Mylene, Hash, Alien Rivers in the house, Choina, Easy and Crypto, I think I said twice, but deserves it. Dead Men Streaming, Marty McFly, Valerius, guys. You guys are really loading up the chat. It's always a better episode. XPlow just came in and said Drug Receipts was featured in Sotheby's recently. I will take that for what it will be. One quick note here for the episode. We plan on doing or reintroducing here the Rate My Bag segment. We need to figure out where codas are. And if we need to move some of this stuff around. By the way, Ronan, we had to move CryptoPunks up to B. I know, or up to A. We were going to get too much hate for that. But we need to figure out where Codas is.
I don't even remember what I put things at.
The other piece here is we wanted to do a Rate My launch because the Otherside launch, of course, we'll get into it, didn't go very well. We were trying to figure out projects that didn't launch very well. And Gabe brought in some here, and Ronan, I think, brought in the Akatar. So 2 were added here, other than the 4 that I could think of. But if you guys in the chat have any launch NFTs or anything like that didn't go well, let's add that in. Just add it in the chat. I'll get the image, and then we'll start to rate these later in the episode. But yeah, that's it. Last question before we move on into Otherside. And we were having this conversation pre-episode, but Gabe and, of course, we just talked about Web3 here with Woboy. They both host shows here on Twitter Spaces. Guys, give me your take on like hosting a good Twitter space, what people should be looking for in good Twitter spaces. Just your experience after being, I think, at least 10 episodes plus for both of you on Twitter Spaces now.
I think it just, you have to want to be there. First step is like, if you're doing daily spaces, you have to be doing it with a community of people that you enjoy, and you have to make it exciting for yourself as well. Like also, if your goal is to grow with the community, that genuine delivery and that genuine intention is extremely important. But 2, differentiating yourself in some way, shape, or form, because everyone's doing the same rooms and just like, hey, we have information. Be here for information. Like, okay, that's cool, but who are you? And what is it what do you care about in this space, and why am I here with you? And do you even care about me being here? Like, shout out people also, good practice. Make sure that you're paying attention to people in the audience too, not just the people on stage, and you're just circulating the energy to those people on stage over and over again. Make sure you're paying mind, and you're equal to those people that are in the audience too. So like, I think that keeping that in mind, staying grounded while you're up on stage, and not making it's not some opportunity for I don't know, like, just stay grounded. That's all I say. Yeah.
And I'll piggyback on that. Do as Rick Ross would do. Roof back, money right, stay on the pedal, show them what you're running like. But all kidding aside, no kidding, I take Rick Ross's words very seriously. We bring on a lot of guests that have very specific expertise or skill sets in their own arena. Like today, we focused on marketing topics. The week before, we focused on illustrators that had some degree of success doing illustration pre-Web3, right? Whether it's fine art, children's books, etc. We have one upcoming on founders. We've done DAOs, we've done metaverses. So we cover topical stuff and try to get into a little more detailed discussion than you might on a general Twitter Spaces discussing the news of the day. Those have their merits. We realized we couldn't stand out in a sea of Twitter Spaces being hosted on Thursday or Tuesday mornings, for example, without something to differentiate us. So we do larger groups of people with specific topics in mind, and we prep questions for each of them that cater to their strengths.
Ronan, what's your take on this?
I think like when it comes to like building like your position in the community and in the space, like there's not a better place than the spaces and getting part of the conversation and being part of the conversation. And if you're really trying to, a lot of people talk about, I want to make Web3 like my, you know, my next career move, and I want to get into this and I want to like do it full time. And it's like, that's your best opportunity. Number one, to like educate yourself. Number two, to educate others. And then three, to network the shit out of those rooms, send the DMs, like tell people your DMs are open and invite DMs, you know, and then if you're new to it, eventually like, you know, be part of the conversation and then host the conversations, right? Like I can't, downplay how much, the audio social platform allowed me to like totally like, you know, take my position and flip it and switch careers thanks to that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you were big in the Clubhouse days. You were really, you know, making a name for yourself when Clubhouse was launching. So it's definitely, yeah. I mean, any thoughts on Clubhouse these days? You, is it dead?
Not for
dead,
NFTs.
Dead?
Not for NFTs anymore, right? Like, and we kind of saw that coming because I mean, Twitter was where like Web3 lived anyway. So as soon as like they popped up that beta test and you could see that like, oh shit, like this is like a really organic way to include the conversation, you know, then you knew it was eventually, the writing was on the wall, right? So I think that if you're looking at the audio social, like, you know, forums, there's not one that's better than Twitter Spaces as far as NFTs are concerned. And definitely, like I said, just like get in there, get comfortable, like, and be part of the convo.
Awesome, man. All right, we will move into our main topic of the day. I saw some comments come through on our list there that we put up just for a second. Valerius is commenting that Yetis are on top. Of course, they're in the S tier. Our code is an NFT. That we can confidently say that, but anything else past that, we don't know. We don't know anything about it. What the fuck's a coda? I think Girl Who Listens is talking about Mechaverse. And Choina is talking about we all remember where we were when Kevin dropped. So that being said, let's move into the first story of the day, which is going to be the Otherside. The Otherside was it ended up being a land sale for the Bored Ape Yacht Club. People were kind of speculating that Yuga wasn't even talking about land for a little while. They thought it might be a coda sale, but they came out 48 hours or a few days before the actual sale, and they said, yes, it was land. If you go onto the website, otherside.xyz, you can see it kind of takes you through a little bit of their universe. You can see pictures of the actual NFTs that were dropped, both to holders as well as available in an alpha sale. You know, and you can see the breakdown there. A lot more to kind of take in. They're going to be bringing in other IP to this universe. There's going to be a lot to be had within the Otherside. I mean, it's probably the biggest metaverse to launch to date, and people were, you know, expecting a lot out of this drop, and it let a lot of people down, Bored Ape Yacht Club holders included. We'll get into some of the details as well as the response from Yuga Labs. You know, in short, and I'll leave this for you guys as well to fill in the details, but the sale absolutely crashed Ethereum, sent, you know, gas fees to, I think, unheard of levels of like 11,000 or something like this. They completely sold out in the first alpha sale. So I think, you know, people that wanted to get in weren't even able to get in. I think it was just the KYC'd addresses that got gamed, which, you know, we'll get into here in a second. But basically, overall, probably an F from the actual launch here as it comes to the Otherside. And we can see a quick map view of what this will eventually be with each plot kind of corresponding to an NFT. But guys, I've talked enough about the drop. What are your thoughts? I guess let's go counterclockwise since we started clockwise here. We'll start with Ronan on this drop as we bring up some other tweets.
You would give me the first shot at this conversation.
You're an ape holder.
Wow, man. Dude, I don't even know where to start. Obviously, like, to your point, I think everybody can agree Chat, you know, has already gone down that rabbit hole of like, yeah, it wasn't a great drop, right? Like the mechanics, some people were like, this just doesn't make sense when you realize like the numbers, right? Like as that time approached, there were plenty of people who were paying attention to the numbers and paying attention to how many people like had KYC and how many of those KYC wallets had enough ape, etc. And, you know, a good 7-8 hours before the drop, there was a thread that I know I read that was like, look, we're past that threshold. Like now it is going to be a gas war. And that was 8 hours prior, right? So leading up to it, I think like everybody was kind of expecting that this would happen. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that it ended up being the way that it was. It's unfortunate that you had to do all the crazy things that you had to do to even like get through a successful transaction. I don't know about the, you know, who else here was taking part. For me, I was taking part. I was taking part through a buddy who KYC'd because I did not, which we talked about already. So essentially, like I was on the phone with him the entire time, and we were talking about strategy because as soon as it dropped, I was like, look, let's just watch what the, you know, the GUI is, whatever it is, let's times it by 10, right? Because it was like 200-300 around that point. As soon as 9 o'clock hit, that shit, I mean, it was like 8,000, 10,000, 12,000, 16,000. I think I saw 18,000 like there at the beginning. And then it was panic mode, right? Like everybody, and for anyone who for all the new people, which, you know, a lot of people talk about, like this was that first entry for so many people. Mm-hmm. This was the worst case scenario because when you have a transactions that stuck, as someone who's not familiar with how this shit works, you don't know how to react. And then you're like, well, maybe I should put through another one. And putting through a second transaction is like the worst thing you can do, right? And then you're like, oh, I need to speed up my GUI. Well, guess what? If you're not speeding up your GUI to a fast enough position, then you're still going to fail your transaction. And then you're going to get charged like the max amount that you put in. So you have to really like know like what the number is at the moment of GUI, what the number is projected to be for the next block of GUI. And you need to know how that all affects where you are in your position in like line. Right. So it was a complete shit show. It cost me $600 in just the transaction fee to send my buddy more ETH so then he could push through the GUI so we could get our transactions through. And ultimately we ended up paying 7,000, which was, I think, 1.94 ETH, which is insane for 2 NFTs. So yeah, I think we all agree it was kind of a crazy experience. Nobody thinks that it was a good one. Yuga's response was, I think, one that most of the community thought was a little tone deaf and really not on pulse. And then, of course, the very last tweet before they amended it like an hour later with they're going to do refunds thing was the whole tongue in cheek, like, well, you know, Ethereum, sorry for turning off the lights. Like maybe we should launch our own chain. You know, I was like, what? So the whole thing, I think, PR disaster, launch disaster, tech disaster. But there was codas and people FOMO and people go so hard over like these one part and everything else is like, meh, whatever. So I do think it's important for us to not forget what took place and to continue to push the conversation of like, these things need to be like a little more like aware, right? Like a little more self-evident. Like, I think, you know, Yuga could have come back at 2, 3, 4 hours before the drop and been like, hey guys, this looks like it's going to be like a complete war. We set it up as like this strategy because we didn't realize so many people were going to have ape. We didn't think about the fact that so many people had ape in their you know, DEX wallets, right? Their Coinbase and stuff, which I don't know how they couldn't, but and come back and adjust it or delay it or come up with a better system. Like, you know, and we can go through all those routes.
There's a fallout from a lot of this. I want to go Gabe here and get his thoughts. There's definitely a fallout from a lot of this missteps. It feels almost like there's a little bit of a fog across the community as Monday hit, where you have people like maybe that lost out on liquidity. You know, have people that aren't happy within the Bored Ape Yacht Club. That's a whole nother discussion. That's one of the first times that's happened within one of their drops. But Gabe, go ahead and give us a thought.
Yeah, lots of major issues, which reminds me, Major League. Who catching because I'm pitching? Jose Canseco, he was only snitching because he's finished. Shout out to Rick Ross. So, a few thoughts on my end. obviously the gas war could have been mitigated. We see this all over Twitter. I've seen some arguments around this. I've seen a lot of apes defending it, saying there was no way to mitigate this type of gas war given the demand. But you all know that's fucking bullshit, to be completely frank and crass about it. There's many non-Web3 solutions, conventional types of user authentication. There's off-the-shelf products that do this today. Shout out to Hashku, one provider of such a product that could have scheduled access and reduced gas costs for the whole mint, which plays into something I like to say. Gas, it's a feature, not a bug, or gas wars. It's a feature, not a bug. That obviously gets baked into the secondary market price valuations of NFTs like this. It also looks good optically. You've got a whole bunch of VCs behind you. You do a massive drop that breaks a network for basically multiple hours on a busy day of the week. And then you get to reframe it as, hey, maybe we should launch our own chain. Hey, DAO members, start looking at that. Kind of questionable. We also know that if there's going to be a native ecosystem token, which I assume is Ape, for the Otherside Metaverse, we know it doesn't live on Ethereum, right? They've got to be leveraging an L2 for regular day-to-day transactional throughput if they're building a gaming environment. So this sets it up nicely for them to have their own chain upon which they can build the infrastructure, at least the blockchain and transactional infrastructure of the game. So that's my prediction there. Also, totally confused. Everyone's talking about this guy named Cody on Twitter. And it's like they're misspelling the dude's name. I've seen a few people get it right. I'm still trying to figure out who Cody is. Did some Googling. Haven't figured that out. But I don't know. I didn't see this Cody feller on any of my Otherside lands. So
I didn't either.
Maybe I'm missing out on something.
Me neither. I did not see Cody. We got a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and I think we got an artifact. But that regardless, and I think the art overall and kind of like how the explore page and stuff is like all interesting. The product's like interesting. There's a nice variety of different types of land and stuff, and I thought that the art was good. It's just that it's just the fact that people they didn't want refunds. They wanted a piece of this community and to be a part of this collection in some shape, because it's really valuable what they've created thus far, and that was the opportunity that they thought that they had, and it seemed like it wasn't in the cards this entire time. And there was no and this is due to the cryptic nature of and non-communication on Bored Ape Yacht Club Yuga Labs' part, like leading into a lot of these launches, like not providing information going into it. That makes them more susceptible and vulnerable to and honestly more deserving of this criticism. No one's above criticism in this space. Everyone. I think that FUD should not be equated to criticism, because it's two very different things in my opinion. And let's like grow up a bit and not not discount something as FUD, because we're beyond that. We're dealing with a lot of money here, and it cost what was it for a mint? People invested in ApeCoin, which we all knew afterwards was going to depreciate after the launch, right? So, and they're left holding ApeCoin directly after it, and it went down in value too. So it's like,
I think it was
people were left in a tricky situation after already having a bad taste in their mouth.
Yeah, the ApeCoin price is interesting, man, and I'm glad you brought that up. I have it up here on the chart. I think this got worse, obviously, because of the optics of the launch. Like people are like obviously riding that narrative that holy shit, Yuga fucked up. But also the fact that all of the land ended up in KYC hands, as opposed to like people who bought a lower amount of ape, maybe 300 ape or 600 ape, who immediately sold afterwards. I think the whales would have held, because there's a positive narrative of that ape was being locked away for a year. Like we were decreasing supply in the actual like ecosystem. Like there was a narrative there for ape to go up afterwards if everything went well, you know.
That requires communication and planning, like Gabe mentioned. Like if they were more observant of the innovation going on in the space and also of what a drop of that magnitude required as far as like scheduling wise, so that we work on these blockchains that we're provided. We understand, we're becoming more and more familiar with them day by day. And if you're just ignorant of that during your, like, it seemed very low effort as far as I'm concerned, to try to get new people into the Bored Ape Yacht Club collection and into the Yuga Labs universe. It felt like there's just so much more that could have been done, and I felt bad for a lot of people. And we're Bored Ape Yacht Club holders, like a lot of us here. So yeah, it's just it was kind of sad. It was really sad, but we need to talk about it. It's every Twitter. You talk about Twitter Spaces, every room it comes up. It's inevitable. So. Yep. Another convo.
Ronan, I want to get your take here, man. Definitely, and I see you reading the chat as well. So if you guys see any points, we see a lot of people chatting about this drop. We'll get to them for sure.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really good comments. A lot of people talking about kind of the L's they unfortunately had to took. Shout out to my boy Space Lion. Thanks for joining in, dude, and hanging out. He unfortunately, Space picked up a mutant ape, and like that's been an excellent ride for him. That was kind of like one of his first like NFT pickups. And you know, he's new to the space, right? He didn't like expect to have to deal with these fees. And like, look, I'll be honest, I'm in the space, and to Marty's point, right? He's like, as soon as you realize it's going to be a gas war, you start to prepare. I mean, 2 ETH felt like it was a pretty good amount of money, right? Like, and then we're thinking instantly, like after we see the GUI go so high, it's like, oh shit, here, I threw another 2 ETH into the shared wallet. So it's one of those situations where like you can only do what you can do. Now to that point, there's lots of things that could have been done, in my opinion. Like the raffle thing is a good idea. Like, people have talked about, it could have been a raffle. You could have used a layer 2 solution, to Gabe's point, like Polygon, and it could have been a situation where you're buying on Polygon, so the gas fees are extremely low. And then once all that's done, it's a ticket that you claim that gives you your L1, Ethereum NFT during a 7-day claim period. There's a lot of things that could have been done, but outside of that, I think like the conversation now is like, how do you avoid this going forward, and like make sure that like we're not making these mistakes again? We don't allow for it, because we continue to do it.
Yeah.
Like we continue to do things like this. And I don't think this is sustainable. I don't think the space stays in this. I had a great conversation with one of our clients this morning. I'm like, we're not going to play in this like $400 or $500 entry point to $4,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 assets. Like I think like it's just not sustainable for like the majority of the space. So what comes next for it? Somebody I wanted to address. Somebody asked. Choina. She's so okay. So they haven't been watching. He hasn't been watching the Yuga thing. But don't they have another 100,000 deeds up their sleeve? Can they not be used to make things right? Thing is with those, right? Like people didn't realize until afterwards, when people had time to actually look through the website, was that those are apparently not actually being dropped in the sale. Those are going to be dropped to people who currently own land and people who are helping build the metaverse, which doesn't give them a good look, right? Like my first thing was like, okay, these people who got refunds, they're going to, to Woboy's point, thanks for the refund, but I wanted a piece of land, right? Like in my opinion, you give them a piece of that second, 100,000 plots. Like I don't know. There's a lot that could be done. It's just going to be interesting to see how their PR, because they're so wrapped up in Web 2 stuff. There's with all these Web 2 people.
Yeah, this situation is so complex. Wobo, I'll let you hit it, but this situation has like so many different topics, right? Like people are bringing up the fact that Andreessen and all these VCs are involved behind the scenes, and now we're talking about what they should be doing with the land that's to be dropped in the future because of this botched drop. But what do you got in your mind, man?
We all know that the most popular form of communication for Yuga Labs or Bored Ape Yacht Club is retweets. And so a friend was like, hey, so are we just going to keep retweeting codas, or are we going to get some information here? Like, is there going to be more communication? Like, can we talk? Like, this should be a conversation. So that feels like deflection just constantly, oh yeah, let's just run of the mill, let's just keep retweeting codas and all this cool stuff and all the positive energy and everything. But this, just because Gargus mentioned that they were sorry, I think that it's a larger conversation than that. It's $170 million that was wasted in gas.
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier in the show, or earlier in this segment. It's like, this is probably the first time I felt bad as a Bored Ape holder. And I want to give one indication here that it maybe can have a broader concept, but it's just an example, right? Like, this thing kind of pissed me off. And I don't mean to be the guy who's pissed off. I claimed 3 land. I am very appreciative of my time in Bored Ape Yacht Club, but this is such a weird concept that token IDs 1 through 300 are on the main island here. Like, there's no RNG. It was literally, if you're ape, because your ape corresponded to what you were able to claim. So, right, if you held ape 174 and you minted that early on, you would have this. They didn't tell us ahead of time or anything like that. They just made it so that the most important land pieces here are only to token holders 1 through 300. And it makes you can't give me a good argument for why this exists, other than you're inflating the bags of early Bored Ape holders, right? If you minted the first Bored Ape, you're probably pretty heavily involved with the project. 1
if you
through
didn't
300.
sell it early on.
If you didn't sell it early
That's
on.
the thing, right? So it's it's incentivizing. This is where you come to the incentivization of pay to play, and we don't want to be a pay to play experience, but at the end of the day, it's becoming more and more like that. And I think that was a pretty big misstep, in my opinion, to allow for the numbers to be correlated in that way, and then allow the numbers to be laid out the way they are, right? Now they're laid out. The first 300 are all around the freaking the actual Bored Ape Yacht Club itself.
Exactly.
And they're on their own island. And then you've got it was weird, man. I think that could have been randomized and given everyone a shot at having those, just like they did with the codas.
Exactly. We didn't get codas. I'm fine with not getting a coda. Okay. Me and Woboy will be fine on our little island of no codas. But that whole token
it's supposed to be dynamic too, right? It's supposed to be dynamic, right? That's the thing, is that you're supposed to be able to develop onto it, I think. Isn't that the conceptual, and it can change. I'm curious of, I know we've been talking a bunch. Gabe, is there anything that you...
No, I'm sucking this all in. I claimed 2. I minted 1. And admittedly, I still don't know 90% of what you guys are talking about. Who is this Cody guy? Tell me who Cody is.
Do we have to show him who Cody is?
I'm just kidding. I mean, I don't know. I feel like we've beat this topic to death. I've been on multiple spaces in the last 72 hours debating all of these finer points, and I'm in general agreement with everything you've said. I admittedly wasn't even aware of the central sort of map sprawling out with the apes and the mutants getting the preferential plots until well after the mint had occurred. I mean, it's a lot of confusion. And the other thing too, interesting point, and I say this about all metaverses, and as someone that owns land in multiple metaverse platforms, is a big proponent of platforms like CryptoVoxels, Sandbox, Decentraland, Isotile, Nifty Island, Monaverse. I play with them all. We do monthly metaverse events. LADZ City is a partner on that. I still am skeptical of the ability of any metaverse provider to keep people in these environments for longer than an hour or two. We have to pull out every bag of tricks for every metaverse party to keep people engaged. We're speculating on digital land worth, tens of thousands of dollars in the case of Yuga Labs' Otherside. Same goes for the Sandbox. I know CryptoVoxels and Decentraland have a slightly lower price point, but here we are trading digital land in a post-scarcity digital environment. None of this land needs to cost any money. These could be membership-based platforms that have interoperability with our NFTs, that allow us to display our collections, that allow us to have metaverse parties. Meanwhile, you've got brands like Yuga, like the Sandbox, that are taking tons of VC money, that have outside funding, but then are also selling a product, which is metaverse land. And we don't know if anyone's even going to want to use these things for extended periods. Like, I think most people's experience in Web3 with the metaverse, and myself withstanding, I spend a lot of time in metaverse environments, but most people, they drop in for 5 minutes, they check out their friend's gallery, they do a walkabout, see some of the big brand activations, and they're in and out. No one's hanging out in these spaces yet. I hope someone figures out the killer app, but Grand Theft Auto, World of Warcraft, Ultima Online, EverQuest, Diablo, like there's a laundry list. Yeah, Minecraft, exactly. Roblox. There's a laundry list of games that we all know and love. We were just talking about Tarkov before we jumped on Escape from Tarkov. There's a laundry list of wonderful online games that really are proto metaverses that many of us and many listeners devote hundreds of hours to a year, right? I'm yet to see anyone that's really devoted hundreds of hours to most metaverse spaces. That's the outlier, right? So these guys need to really step up the A game when it comes to delivering a product that people want to use. Otherwise, what is all this stuff for?
Tell them, Gabe.
I would jump on that and say, like, what platform that is currently labeled as a metaverse is capturing that attention? Because if you look at platforms that may not be like labeling themselves as metaverses, but that could be considered a metaverse, right? You're talking about things like Fortnite. You're talking about things like Second Life. There are people who have played Second Life for 15 years. And if there's anything that could be called a metaverse, Second Life is a metaverse, right? Yeah. Like, and this takes that even a step further, right? Like, Second Life has Linden's its own currency that you can cash out through their bank thing and actually get dollars. You have rent that you have to pay on the land that you own. The items that you own have to be like, it is a metaverse through and through, top to freaking bottom. Yeah. And people have played it for a long time. So when you look at like the experiences that are attracting that attention for that long, what are they doing, right? Like, that's where I think the problem is. We're still building Web3 down back to Web2. We need to take a Web2 like product, right, and enhance it with Web3. Like, that's where the mindset needs to shift. And I'm hoping that we're going to see something along those lines. Yeah, like Blankos, I bring Blankos up a lot. Blankos, despite the fact that it has not gotten a whole lot of adoption and it hasn't blown up the way that like it could have, right? That's a AAA game. That's Fall Guys with NFTs as the garnish. That is where I think the space goes.
Yeah, but to touching on the game that you just mentioned, the Blankos, the fact that Ape or Bored Ape or Yuga Labs are trying to come out and say they're going to be on their own chain, I think there's a lot of examples now in showing that games not associated with the Ethereum chain kind of struggle. You know, like Axie Infinity even is like going through it right now. And some of that has to do with them moving to their own Ronin sidechain, which does have a bridge. Don't get me wrong, you can easily get from one to the other. But I think there's a little bit to be had. I mean, there's a lot of good games on Wax that nobody knows about because it's not attached to the Ethereum chain. So it's just a tough balance, in my opinion, of like, here's where the money is, but here's where we should go.
But Bored Ape might be... and also the collections that are all associated with that metaverse too. Which, by the way, there's been like exclusivity talks of like Bored Ape representation and all these other collections being represented in a ton of other metaverses. But the Bored Ape Otherside being like, that's going to be their focus. That's going to be where a lot of opportunities arise through their metaverse. So I guess I'm just curious of all they have a ton of resources. That's the truth. They really do, as far as financials go. But what are they going to create? And that's to be seen by anyone in the space. And will they be someone that provides something that is truly fruitful for us to like exist in and spend a lot of time for us to enjoy? Not just something that's going to make, not just a play to earn game that's making people money, but it needs to be an experience that is like, you can spend time there and you enjoy it regardless of whether you're making money or not. So that's important.
That's the point. Exactly. NFTs need to be a side note, not like the thing that's bringing people in. You know what I mean? Like, we need to get back to like just like a good freaking game, a good like base experience for a metaverse. Like, what I do like is that as far as like when you look at the metaverses that we have now, to Gabe's point, like they all have pieces that they need to make like a complete metaverse, right? Like I love Decentraland, but it's not easy to build a Decentraland, right?
Yeah.
And they don't have like an in-universe marketplace. And like, what is the interoperability between it and like, you have to buy everything on the outside, okay? And then you've got like crypto voxels. Crypto voxels is kind of cool, but it's not a good aesthetic, right? Like same thing, you're buying all your assets outside. We need a universe where you're in the game, you're playing the game, you walk up, you go to the store, you click it, you know, it prompts you to purchase like whatever NFTs that you're going to buy, and then you buy it, and then you equip it, and it's on. Everything is in the universe. Like nobody wants to be in these universes because it's like a fractured experience. You have to go to like, you know, this weird place in Decentraland to be able to like put on your clothes the right way. At least it used to be that way. I don't even remember if it is now. You remember what I'm talking about? You used to go to like your profile page, which wasn't in Decentraland, the actual game itself. So they're all fractioned, right? Like it's like they have pieces that will make it work eventually. Like Sandbox was all actually one massive land. And like you could walk from my land to your land, and I could see your build as you're building it up, and I could drop in and do all those things. Then we're talking about a place where people would spend more time. Right now, we just don't have that.
The features as well in projects like Decentraland and Crypto Voxels, although Crypto Voxels is a little bit better, is that you have whales sitting on land doing nothing. You know, you have that financial aspect where it makes it ghost towns just by its own people just squatting on this piece of land. But I do want to meld this conversation. I think we can stay here, but I want to bring up one point here, which is the fact that the game looks, you know, kind of interesting. The art looks interesting. Obviously, we don't know when gameplay is going to be launched, but everyone's kind of like talking about what all this means, right? You have the lands, the other deeds here that gives you, you know, potential to like own this plot, right? And there's some intellectual property and licenses stuff that you could, you know, dive into, but we won't. But as far as this looking like an entertaining place to be, I think the artwork looks good. We can touch on like what you guys think the tier lists are, what you think the codas are. You know, I thought GIF brought up a great point in that when you look at that map of the other side that I pulled up earlier, you have all these like different zones, right? You have like, this one's like kind of crazy. It's like a gold area, but you know, you have like lush green, you have frozen, and there's really no consistency to those lands in areas. Like you don't have an all snowy area and then an all grassy area in the world.
I think they are broken down into biomes. I think that's like what the different like rings are.
But it doesn't match up to the token IDs, you know? So like I could go to...
so like if I have like a marshmallow plot, like the plot right next to me could be like a trippy plot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so therefore it's not... I see what you're saying. So like how do you even make those...
And how is that an open environment, right? It sounds more like the Sandbox environment where you're like porting from the gold area to the snow area to the, you know, island. I don't know. I'll open that up to you guys.
Like what if like the other deeds are an artistic representation of what your land will represent, like once we drop into this 3D universe? We already know that the plan is for it to be 3D. They've said 3D models. They've confirmed BAYC, MAYC get 3D models. The dogs get models. So we know it's going to be 3D. What if like the other deed is like the artistic representation of what your land will actually be, right? Because we know they are in biomes as far as like the way they've broken them down, right? Like they've said like you've got these like areas that are you know supposed to all go together, right? Like to your point, right? Like these are all kind of foresty feeling, right? So like maybe the visualization is more so about the resources that are on that plot of land, the tier of that plot of land. So maybe like when you walk in from one spot to the next, if yours is like more aesthetically pleasing, then you know maybe your like land is brighter. Maybe there's more resources to be mined from it or whatever. But I think like I don't think that like we're gonna see a 1-for-1 ratio of deed to actual quote unquote 3D land.
The islands are super interesting.
The island thing was crazy when somebody like was like, oh, I've got my own personal island. I was like, what do you mean? And then I went to it and I was like, holy shit, there really are like a bunch that are just like like thrown out there that are on their own little islands, which is cool. Like, right? Like, so it's like, what is that? How do you get to it? Like,
Is there value?
Somebody
there?
actually asked.
Yeah.
I feel for the guys
yeah.
I feel for the guys that were posting on Twitter. I don't know if this one has any cool stuff, like, you know, people were talking about like artifacts being really important, but like some people got absolutely abysmal lands. Like just
like
blank.
with no artifacts, no nothing. Yeah, they have like, it's like, what the hell you're gonna build something cool? That's what you're gonna do, and that one's on you, brother.
To be
but
fair,
somebody asked earlier.
Provided,
yeah.
Oh, they provided very little context for as far as how to value these things, other than the metadata that we have. Like, hey, this stuff will be there's so much speculation that people are just, other than a coda, and like than having a coda.
We still don't know what codas do, right?
Yeah, even then.
What is the guess there? What is the guess there?
I think codas will like be some type of like resource collecting aspect, right? Because if you look, like, some of the artifacts are tools. So I can imagine, like, if you have a plot of land that has like coda axes, then like you could go and sell coda axes to codas, and then a coda equipped with an axe can now go mine resources that are considered like mineable, right? But to the greater conversation, like, it really bugs the shit out of me that like we all spent $350 million on like shit that we have no idea like what any of it's gonna do, right? And it's weird to say that out loud because I took part, right? People are just like, fuck, the money part is like what gets you into it, right? But it's like, nowhere else in the world would this have been an acceptable way to launch a product with like no information. We all just have faith that you guys are going to do right by us and make these things valuable. Now, I honestly believe it. I believe that, you know, one thing that that they've proven, Yuga's proven, is that they understand the cadence, right? Like, I talk to clients about this. It's like, people talk about like, what did the Bored Apes do that was so special? It's like they've got a 2-month cadence. Like, look back, things are dropping every 2 months, right? You've got this cycle of news that builds up to it, right? It's like, apes drop, 2 months later you got dogs, 2 months later you got mutants, 2 months later you have Ape Fest, 2 months later you've got like whatever the fuck became like ApeCoin. Then we have, like, we've literally been on a 2-month cadence, and that is important for the space. So my expectation is that we'll get drip fed some info over the next few weeks, and then 2 months or whatever, we'll actually get a playable beta or something. But leading up to it, it's going to be a news cycle, and it's important marketing wise, right? Like strategy wise, to have that, because what happens is everybody's complaining about the floor. Someone mentioned it in chat, like, oh my God, it's back to mint price, but it's only going to sit there for so long. Like, the reason it's sitting there is because people don't know how to value the assets that we're trading. All we need is a little guidance. Once you guys drop some of that guidance, whether that's just telling us what codas do or whether that's what resources do, once that drops, that's going to peak. That's going to cause secondary market to flow and people to buy things that they are going to want or need. And then you'll get another drop of info that spurs the secondary again. I think that they understand the marketing part really well when it comes to the NFT space that a lot of projects don't. But you know, you have to hold up to it. And after this, it's like, what do we expect for the next drop? Probably more info.
Yeah, to be fair, like the floor is probably not going to rise that much until the next announcement, as it relates to what the land does, what are the tier systems, what does coda do. So,
but not financial advice. It's a dip.
I'm going to make my Cody prediction.
Make it.
So, I see these lands, they've got all these resources, right? So they're obviously planning some sort of in-game economy, or maybe it's building materials. Either way, there's an economic component to that. We've got native token integration, a la Ape. There's only 100 of these codas. Maybe they're like key NPC players in this universe that you have to interact with to go on quests or to deliver things to, or maybe they're traders, or maybe they have some sort of functional in-game component that's going to actually generate ape token for those individuals with codas on their land. Just a bold thought. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but going in here trying to figure out what any of this does is going to be a fun mystery for the next few weeks. I'm while you guys are chatting, I'm over here trying to find my plots of land on the map unsuccessfully. I might add. There's no way to just search the token ID.
I have a good tip.
There we go.
I was gonna say, Yeah, a buddy was like, this is what you need to do. Scroll around until you click one that's somewhere in the vicinity of like your number. So I had one that was like 55,460. I found 55,495. Left and right is
you could also
plus
add
one,
it,
left,
URL.
minus one.
You could also add it.
You can add a URL. Someone said that.
Oh no, that's a pro tip.
It doesn't come up with a URL when you select one, so I didn't know if that was possible. But hey, that works. I do have a 315 though. So
okay. So here's what we'll move to end the segment. We were going to touch a little bit. I know Azuki and Doodles have some things that are kind of moving. Those two projects, they're doing some reveals or some drops here. But I wanted to hop in here. This was a Rate My Bag segment that we did a little while ago to much fanfare. I want to touch on one question here in the chat. And Ronan, I'll get your take because you do have to go. Codas will be more valuable than mutants. There is a little bit of a mutant and Coda floor battle happening right now, and whether you should be looking to buy a land piece with a Coda on it, which will get you the eventual Coda, or do you have the MAYC? So, two questions. That one that I just mentioned, and then whether you would change anything around here, because I believe this is like 2 or 3 weeks old, which is a lifetime in our space. Also, chat, if you see anything that we don't have on here that we need to add, let me know.
I think Codas I do think Codas will rise. I think they become more valuable than mutants simply because they are going to have an in-game function, and they've already made that clear. And they've also, the way they've described them is like Codas are like energy from the creation of like the universe, and like they're what's left over, and there's 10,000 of these little fuckers, and like they're like if you look at the lore, Codas have like a very big cornerstone in the other side. So I don't know as far as like, is this Rate My Bag? Is it what's more valuable or what's a better project? I mean,
what's a better project right now for sure. This is
got the best
version
upside.
2.
I think it's got the best upside. I would say that I would probably also bump VFriends up. I feel like VFriends is like S tier. Like it's really like showing shit the proper way. I don't know, A. Drop it in A for now.
Coda? So
maybe B.
Let's have a vote
Put
here.
It where you had it.
Let's have a vote here. Whoa boy, Gables. I'll put Codas at B for now. I feel like unreleased, I can't put anything at A. But what do you guys think?
I'm going C until. Until they demonstrate what they do, they're a C for me. But I could easily see them jumping to A.
What do you think, Whoa boy?
I agree. I agree. C or B as well. Right now, they're just a PNG that is. I mean, they're garnering a lot of attention, and the floor for Codas is insane. But as far as what they do, there's much to be said. They were depicted in the Otherside trailer, which in that they were transporting a Bored Ape by flying them. So that could be something to be seen as far as capabilities of like transportation for like your characters and stuff going to different plots. I think someone mentioned that. Yeah. That's a potential. True.
I could see, what? Mounts actually make a lot of sense because that's like a real clear thing that like would be a real value add for somebody just to collect, right? Like not only the utility of moving around, it's like owning a nice car, like people, if
you could also like, you could consider like the dogs might end up being like a mount too, right? Like you could end up like, because everyone's like, what are the dogs? And we know that there's like mecha dogs or some shit that are coming later this year. So like maybe like the dogs end up having their own equivalent of a mount as well. So now you got Codas and you have mounts. I do have to drop though. It's been an excellent episode. I will say one other thing. We don't know if Codas are an actual NFT. Right now, Codas are just a trait aspect of the other deeds. We do know one thing for sure though, that in the leak pitch deck, they were tradable. So you can have an other deed, right? And so this is where I think like these NFTs I think are dynamic. I don't think that the metadata on the other deeds is frozen yet, which means that they can be updated. And my kind of theory is that when the game gets going, if I want to trade, my coda to you, I can send that to you. The other deed then gets updated and removes that coda. However, I don't know if they're ever going to actually be their own separate NFT. It's going to be interesting to find out because then is it like, okay, are all the resources NFTs? You know, how does that play out? What is the game economy like, right? I do think that eventually we get to a point where we're selling the things that are on our our plot of land for ApeCoin, like fractions of ApeCoin. So then you're able to like eventually make money. But thank you guys so much. That's our Vibe, our tribe. You guys are excellent co-hosts. I can't wait to do this again. And yeah, this is pre like hitting the live button, but I'm down for some Escape from Tarkov soon. So love you guys.
Let's go.
Let's see that freeze
soon. And enjoy the rest of the episode. And this is me freezing. See you guys later.
Oh yeah, like a true veteran. Look at that, rocking out, man. I agree, man. I think that. Well, also that's another tactic. If it's not an NFT and you can only track a coda via like that's just going to make people more engaged on their website and anything that they're providing. It's like, hey, if you want information on where codas are, I guess like if it's dynamic, it should then extend out to the actual NFTs themselves on like OpenSea and stuff. But it's most responsive likely through their website, I would imagine, because like I know the process of I know what it's like to have, because personally for DBs with Witchy GFs, like if you have DBs in your wallet and you have your Witchy GF and you own DBs, there is statistical like an oracle that's like tracking how many DBs that you have, and it gives like your Witchy GF empowerment. And I know how long that takes for it to update for OpenSea. So like it's most responsive. It's going to be most responsive through their own servers and everything. So people are just going to be locked in more than ever on all things Otherside. So with these dynamic NFTs.
Yeah, guys, we're coming up to the end of the episode here. We're going to get some last points, but I appreciate everybody kind of getting after it in the chat. We do have like a couple last points that we want to cover. One I'm going to bring up on my screen real quick because we did have a comment from Edgar Vicasio who is saying, who is going to play these games when they come out in 5 years? There was an interesting tweet from just a Bored Ape character here talking about Improbable, who is going to be working with Bored Ape to create their universe. This was interesting, man. They have developed software to allow 15,000 people to interact. And I'll give you the shot of the actual piece here. Like, I don't think this is like going to be a made from scratch game is what I'm trying to get at here. I think they're going to use Improbable tech or their software here to allow for us to be doing this, which doesn't exist right now, in the metaverse for most, metaverse projects that are out there right now. Sandbox for a while, they were like, yeah, you can only cap it at like 30. Like there's this cap to people actually being in a metaverse and having that experience. So I wonder if this tweet isn't some alpha for like whenever they, get that release out. And then the only other thing I wanted to touch on was this second piece along with Rate My Bags. And I want to get the community's comments here as we go to Rate My Launch. And really, we didn't find, it was like right before the episode, I think we had like these 4 up here and then we added these 2. But based on the Otherside not launching in the best way, kind of wanted to look at like the worst launches in the NFT space, right? So like we have, of course, Mechaverse. We have Pixelmon here. We have the Otherside. Yetis was a bad reveal. I think, Gutter Cats stumbled at the gates as well as Akutar. I don't know if we want to rank these. This is obviously being the worst. And I also, want to get some comments from the chat here on what we're missing. Because I feel like there's more that aren't here yet, guys.
Yeah, maybe let's get a list. So we build our basic list now, and then we revisit this in a week and add all the additional fumbled launches to the list. I don't know why Pixelmon's on here. I mean, that created maybe my favorite in all of Web3 content, which was Kevin. Also, the dog character that looked like he'd been on a Star Trek transporter accident and all of his parts had to swap places with themselves. Anyway, that provided hours of entertainment for me, which I can say because I didn't mint one. But yeah, so how do we rank these?
What do we think, Whoa Boy? I think we get a couple more for sure, but go ahead.
Oh yeah. I think someone mentioned Mechaverse. I think, which it was like part of these PFP projects is having a sense of identity, and people were like, okay, so this is a change of color here. These look exactly the same. It was just like collectively everyone thought that there wasn't enough effort put into the variation and just like the delivery and also I guess I wasn't a part of it. I imagine gas was like horrendous, but I wasn't a part of that launch. So anyone that can attest to that can say I was very close to the sun for the Super Yeti launch. And I knew everyone around me was buying Super Yetis, and everyone around me was talking Super Yetis, and everyone currently is playing their game that they said they were going to launch. That was the
wait. They actually launched a game?
No. I'm kidding. I'm totally
okay.
joking.
Holy shit!
Totally joking. But that was one of the big promises, and that was very early in the NFT space, and it was a perfect example of like, oh wow. People, there's some terrible intention in this space, and also things aren't the way that they may appear to be, and we need to do a lot more research. So Super Yeti, they were the perfect example, and they set the stage, they set the bar. That's an S. That's an S for they are that is what what all projects that are fumbling.
An S in both categories.
Yeah, look at that.
Wow. Absolute classic. Yeti's just
Killing
leading the
game.
space.
100%.
I need another Rick Ross quote there. I guess we'll pump out of here. But I really, I think what it leads to is like a discussion around like what is actually a bad launch, right? Like is for example, like where do we draw the line? Is Oniforce a bad launch? Because they had this like huge run up and then an absolute dump, and I think they still haven't really recovered. Like where do we draw the line?
Launch. No, I think Oniforce was an incredible launch. Yeah.
When Oniforce snatched Black, I cried for 100 nights. They got 100 bodies serving 100 lives. But maybe I'd rank Gutter Cats here at C tier. So the reason being, and because the attention span of the NFT space is that of toddlers, we forget that Gutter Cats had a recursive loop in their smart contract that caused a lot of users to lose gas. And then 2 weeks later, we completely forgot about it. But so they're not quite the god tier that is the Yetis, but they are on the list. I don't know if we want to run through the rest of these.
There's some confusion here. I thought that this would maybe be like the worst launch, and this is like there's a little bit of confusion on the rate. Launch.
No, worst is at the top.
Worst is at the top,
and then not as bad. So I wouldn't say Gutter Cat was the worst. Got it. Everyone got their units, and they released a quality project afterwards, but they did have some hiccups upon their launch. Yeah, see, I would rate Mechaverse as worse, so they would go higher on the list. I would give Mechaverse an A. They're almost up there with the Yetis for me.
What's the worst launch of all time? It almost has to be Otherside. It almost like in total scope.
Oh man,
I would agree. If we're just talking launches, absolutely.
We're gonna get absolutely eviscerated if this was taken out of context.
Right.
That
was poor.
True.
Akutar had a little bit of a slip.
There was a project that I remember people were able to mint, like they were able to mint like a ton of them at once because there's a contract issue, but it made it so someone was able to like mint like hundreds and hundreds of them because they didn't roll it out. There's a couple of examples of that, like smart contract issues in the space, but I guess it's not popping out to me, so maybe it doesn't go here. But there's tons of smart contract woes, and
we forgot about the association.
Oh, you were
last
mentioning
week,
that.
The NBA launch that they were supposed to only sell 10,000 units or mint 10,000 units, and then it exceeded 10,000. They got up to 16,000 real fast, and then they raised the ceiling, and I think now they're at 25K. But that was a mess. Ooh, someone's saying Stoner Cats.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yep.
Well, great contribution here, Peter. I think came through with Stoner Cats. Let me see if I can get it on.
Stoner Cats, that was pretty rough.
Oh. All right, where do we think Stoner Cats rates here? I'm just sizing it appropriately.
I'm gonna put it below A.
Yeah.
Because it didn't immediately come to mind, but then we were reminded of it. You know, much like Gutter Cats, for example. It's not one that sticks in everyone's memory, but it was problematic. Yeah, maybe a B on that one, or even a C.
Yeah. I'll leave this. I'll leave this one up to the chat. B or C. We'll place it based on chat. But yeah, Stoner Cats definitely came in with a lot of hype, and they didn't, necessarily. I think they dropped the utility after the launch or something. I think it was it's very weird. It's like we're trying to dig up in the recesses of our minds what things we stored away from years past.
Yeah, most of it was the fact that it was associated with who it's associated with Mila Kunis, and just it being like a full-fledged, like they're going to produce something themselves rather than go to through the normal hoops and red tape that you hop through. But then also what was just blatantly obvious was just the fact that like how it didn't seem like as much time was taken to truly understand like how to launch a project, I guess, and what would happen if they were to launch everything at once. Also, the pricing. What was the price? What was the mint price for that?
The pricing was the worst part.
That was rough. Yeah,
I am actually going to move them.
Bad.
Yeah, I'm going to move them to C because of the pricing. The pricing was in like multiple E's, I think. I think it was in multiple E's.
Yeah, it was multiple ETHs, and that's why someone launched a project called Blaze Cats, which was like a direct response to this, and it was more a lower price point, and it was like they put it together in less than like 24 hours, and they had an artist draw up all this. It was pretty crazy how quickly they like put it together. But that felt like a very Web3 thing to happen in response to people that were just trying to like, charge an ETH or two for people like most of the people that are able to participate. It's there's not many like that were in those conversations early on. We were just all staring at what was happening. I remember I didn't even consider it because I don't know. I couldn't participate in the space for a long time.
What a weird time too that we're in now. As Cost Effectives is in the chat is saying it was like 0.35 for a Stoner Cat, which nowadays I feel like would not really bat an eye. Whereas back then it was like, are you guys kidding me? Like, what are you doing? Yep. It's all for 0.08. Everybody knows the rule. And he's saying it was 0.35 for a Stoner Cat. I thought it was multiples.
Seemed like multiples down then.
Yeah,
was a multiple of the standard price.
True,
guys. It's crazy. Now we're doing Coda. Cody is costing hundreds of ETH. We've got the Moon Owls that are going for 30 ETH. Dogs and cats living together.
Utter mayhem. Guys, we're gonna get out of here. I appreciate it. We're still working on these segments, Rate My Bags. I think there's definitely things that we want to do with them, but they're a little raw. The last thing I want to do with this Rate My Bag segment is get your take on the current setup that we have. So we had a B setting. Is there anything in here that you would move around, Gabe or Whoa? Is there anything that you see here, or something that you would like added as we continue?
Just wait. Deadfellas is gonna be B or A. Before you know it, just wait. That project, those people, the amount of stuff that they're like creating and like that they're doing over there is super interesting, especially since I think they just signed with the CAA, or was it CAA or UTA? I forget. I think it might have been UTA. So they signed with UTA, and I think that there's a ton of they're one of the big four agencies in the space, and UTA I know has a ton of streamers that are associated with like gaming, like a bunch of gamers and streamers that have they have a bunch of agents of streamers and stuff, and I think that you might see some dead fellas on some streamers' faces sometime in the future, but that's my inclining, is like we're gonna start seeing some of these characters projected as like VTubers before you know it.
Shit, love that.
And
I mean,
they're
I
taking
want
a
to
step
know
in
why
that
the
direction.
Dreamers aren't on this list. I'm just gonna show my own project. Where the hell are the Dreamers on here? First of all, I'm just kidding. Second of all, you got Subducks on here and MFers, but you're missing the Chain Runners, baby. Chain Runners doing one of the coolest, what they're calling the XR drop coming up. Their development team never ceases to amaze me. 0.78 floor. Everyone's getting an interoperable 3D version of their character designed for use in multiple metaverses soon. I think they're doing some of the coolest stuff in the space, and they don't get enough love. Yeah, shout out to them over there. I'd put them on par at B, frankly. I mean, you don't have to agree with me, but you got sucked up. I love Subducks too, but I'd place Chain Runners above Subducks. IMO. Who else are we missing on here aside from the Dreamers being notably absent? Who else are we missing? I don't know.
I think another project that's developing a lot internally is Robotos.
Oh, Robotos. Yep.
Like they're creating a ton, and I can like a lot of they pivoted from a Web 2 world into Web 3. Like initially, like when they first started, like Robotos and stuff, and they had been creating this technology, like the stuff that they're creating now. They've got a wonderful team of people, and they're the creatives on their team, the devs on their team are just extremely talented, and I think that there's a bright future for them because they're making their own little 2D like metaverse, like they're creating a bunch of stuff. Their ecosystem is super interesting. They provide all the resources that you need for social purposes. Like you can go, if you have a Roboto, you go to their website. You can like have like 10 different versions of supporting Robotos, like, and incorporating your Roboto into the pattern on the banner for like Twitter. So they like have these templates for banners for you to express yourself and support Robotos, whether it's PFP or on like banners and stuff too. So they're doing a great job. I think that they deserve a bit more recognition, regardless of like floor price.
Love these additions. I think Robotos and Pixel Vault, we got a comment in from the chat here. So I'm going to initially put these at B and see where they land as we kind of develop this list. I think we'll have some kind of shakeups as projects continue to develop or not. Obviously, we're going to be hiding behind my bags here. But we will continue looking at this Rate My Bags. I think those were three good additions. No upwards or downwards movement. I did like Ronan's comment about V-Friends. Yeah.
What did we do with that? I was going to say maybe Ronan had a similar comment, but now we got Series 2. I don't know if we can put Series 1 and Series 2 both on A tier. Maybe it's an A and a B tier. And I say this as a Series 2 holder, but I don't know that the Series 2 is worth, in terms of utility, the same as Series 1. Also, like, I mean, Series 1 is fine art. Like anyone that takes a Sharpie and, some printer paper, draws out an animal that, my little neighbor could make and then mints that as an NFT. I mean, that's God tier level illustration.
And sells them for 15 ETH. Yeah,
exactly. No, I like what Gary's doing over there. Frankly, he's doing all the right moves, to be honest. But and I like VFriends too.
So so VFriends version 1, is that S tier? Is that, because I do agree that like we break out the BAYC ecosystem. It's not just like a Yuga Labs or anything like that. Is VFriends version 1 S tier?
I might say so, honestly. I possibly, yeah. At least in terms of value he provides to his crew. His community management skills are like A+, and everyone always talks about Yuga's innovations with their community, but they kind of go dormant. Like Ronan said, 2-month release intervals, which is great if you're just looking to see a continual deluge of product. Gary shows up every day. He's there. There's always stuff for them. There's always giveaways, engagement. I don't know. So yeah, I think I'd agree with that S tier placement on VeeFriends, frankly.
We got.
I completely agree. But then I believe we're new Series 2 holders as well. Where would that leave that one then? Because I think there's a lot of unanswered questions about what that what that leads to. So would you be comfortable putting that in B, just not knowing anything?
I'm on that page, yeah. Like Series 2 falls B, Series A falls S tier. And a lot of these are like growing pains as a byproduct of just the size of this community, right? Like we don't yet think there are over 1 million accounts, but we don't know that there's 1 million users on OpenSea actively, right? So like this needs to scale in terms of total daily players in Web3 and NFTs. We need to go 10x here in terms of user volume, right? At which point now you've got a carrying capacity of the ecosystem for those, for VeeFriends Series 2 to be just as big, for example. So, and I think that's the growing pains of a lot of collections where there's just too much in the ecosystem for the an amount of users that doesn't have that carrying capacity as of yet. But we hope it will.
Yeah, we're having to scale up the Rate My Bag segment here in production, like while
it's
we're
going.
live
Let's
here.
do it.
Cost
Literally.
Go ahead.
Oh no.
No, Cost Effective is saying he would put VeeFriends in VeeFriends 1 in S tier for sure. He also said B tier is looking heavy. We need to be a little bit more harsh, which I think we could get after it. But we're about an hour. Holy shit, we're an hour and 20 minutes in. So and Woboy had a Spaces for 2 hours prior.
I would say we could put Robotos down to potentially like C with like Deadfellows and stuff. And I would also personally put Subducks there too.
Ooh.
I think that's fair.
I know that our friend was very vocal about Buffalo is very about this, but I think that wait, are we playing?
Oh, the song. Oh, the song.
That's hilarious. Yeah, just objectively thinking. That's all.
No, I like it.
Controversial opinion, man. I'm going to put MFers D tier. They don't do nothing for me. I'm not going to buy them at a 3 ETH price valuation. I don't like them.
We're moving a lot around.
They need to check their posture, too. Posture check. They're always lounging in those chairs. They're going to have lower back problems in 10 years. Those MFers, get out there. Get on the treadmill. Get on a bicycle. Join a CrossFit gym, okay? You got to do something for that back, for that spine, that posterior chain. Let's go.
I give a lot of leeway to the guests apparently on this list because I just wherever you guys are telling me to put it, I just move them. So look,
shake it up.
MFers is probably like if we want to move them down, I'd probably say C tier. I'm not going to add any. D tier is kind of like meme-ish at this point with Mooncats there. So I'll put them down in C tier. And next time we do the Rate My Bag segment, we'll move these things around. But I like the little ecosystem that we've kind of built here. I
think it's good.
Honestly, Mooncats was one of the Mooncats was one of the most memorable experiences in Web3 for me when that launched and people were interacting with it and retaining and like claiming their Mooncats. That was so cool, and it stinks that they haven't really. I mean, the point is that it was dormant in the first place, by the way. Like, it was like everyone started claiming these Mooncats, and it was like an early project, and then there was a bit of, I think, I'm not sure as far as updates go, but people do have a lot of hopes for Mooncats to get out of the D, and, at least get up to C for cats.
I'm surprised. I will monitor the Mooncats. I'm surprised no one's mentioned this bad boy here. Well, yeah, getting into the
sandbox, baby.
Yeah,
I was unsure what the criteria is. I see you got World Wide Web land. I dumped it. I'm not a fan of that. That metaverse isn't much of a metaverse to me. I'm gonna put I put World Wide Web land down to D tier, baby. Sorry, that's just how I fall today. Someone mentioned Tom Sachs Rocket Factory. That was an A tier for me until he said that he's only doing one more scheduled rocket launch. Come on, guys. I got rockets behind me. You can see in the camera shot I got some big boys. You guys come over to my house. I'll launch NFT rockets for y'all all day. Okay. What else we got here? Meta Heroes. Meta Heroes maybe should be on the list. Notably absent, my favorite project, maybe my favorite PFP project, aside from Dreamers, obviously, the Vogu. Their team's great. They're still grinding on stuff. I know their floor price isn't.
Shout out Traxy.
Yeah, Trexie's the man. And they're doing some cool stuff in Miami this weekend for the F1 race. I'm sad I can't be there, but I'm just gonna. I mean, I'll just fill this list with my bags, Q, until I can get some price action. Let's go.
Guys, we added a bunch. You guys did a lot to this list, which I appreciate a bunch. But we are at the hour and 30 mark, so we're gonna pop out. Thank you so much for everybody who tuned in today. Whoa boy, I'll let you sign off here as well as Gabe. You guys sign off, and then we will get up out of here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Gabe, you go.
You first. Do it, whoa boy. Let's hear it.
I'll go first so that everyone can watch your rocket fly into the air gracefully.
Exactly.
Watch you propel. But thank you guys so much for having me. Thanks, Q. Great getting to know Gabe and kicking it with Ronan again. We check out GM Web3 in the morning. We do Twitter Spaces every morning, Monday through Thursday. Also, WitchyGF, DB's Nifty Castle projects. WitchyGF is still minting, folks. And it's a wonderful project and community that we're developing over at the Nifty Castle, and can't wait to share more stuff about NFT NYC coming here in the future. So lots we have projected and planned for the future for the NFT community, and can't wait to just share more info and kick it on more roundtables, because this is fun. I like doing this, and I hope to be around a bit more.
Perfect. I'm just going to say this. I touch work like I'm convertible Bert. I got distribution, so I'm converting the work. Okay, steady slanging, my Chevy banging. That's all I'm going to say.
I was in the midst of trying to download a Rick Ross song to end this segment, but alas, we will have to go out with Jack Harlow.
I'll just sing it, guys. Ready? No, I got this. Hustling. Every day I'm hustling. And then you got to do the sound effect. Woo! Every day I'm hustling. And then someone's got to jump in with who the fuck you think you working with? I'm the fucking boss.
This was NFT Live. Thank you so much. We will see you next time. What a ride. Our vibe, our tribe.
Why we keep them coming back? I'm in the distribution. I'm the Ant-Man.
Y'all giving off, and I'm trying to make myself less like it. This chick got a little Porsche body. I might let the bro test drive it. It's hard for me to get excited. I love music and stressed about it. My city haunting, I'm co-signing this wave coming up next out it. Riding around in the shotgun and her Tesla. Hanging both of my legs out it like what's up? I got stakes and they too high now, I can't fuck up. I like girls that's down to earth, so don't be stuck up. I don't take L's, I give them out and I chuck them up. First listen, they hearing this shit like what?
Because at the end of the day, all we care about is protecting our buyers. Yo, I got KYC wallets on deck, hit me up. They're all the same one. And then we'll mint them in waves, and that'll help stop people from FOMOing in and getting wrecked. Oh my God, gas is 4 ETH. Send it! If we want to prevent our buyers from getting wrecked, we have a lot of money as it is. Why not just do like an airdrop or like a large raffle or something? Yeah, I just sniped one for 15 ETH. We don't want them getting wrecked, right? Wait, I just lost all my ETH and failed transactions. Fuck! People have to get wrecked. It's how we're gonna announce our coin will need its own chain in order to prevent things like this happening. I'm not gonna make it. Why wouldn't we just plan ahead and do this on our chain so that way we don't have to make an example out of people's misfortunes? The floor's not 15 ETH anymore. Wag me? This isn't very wag me. This isn't supposed to be wag me. It's the other side of it.
Open, heart clean and my mind focused. This shit just keeps going how I wrote it. How the hell could you doubt us? I mean, back then it made sense, but it's like now what? Now they down to come round just to be round us. You ain't one of my dogs, why do you hound us? It's very few of you I like, but it's a whole lot of y'all I don't trust. Cause 10 toes, that's my MO. Fam of a gram, that's my MO. Fuck a close friends, I got friends that I keep close and they let it go while I reload. Like, bow, bow, bow. TSA just opened my book bag up and my chain hitting like.